Section B, Edexcel 2019. Let's get right on with it and started with this question. So it looks like it's on the energy market sector. But yeah, 6A, 5-mark question. With reference to extract A, explain question the difference between a positive and a normative statement. So this looks like quite an easy 5-mark question, but let's have a look at section A. So what I'm looking for in section A is just some positive and some normative statements, since of course there will be a few application marks here, and then it should be a very simple question where you just explain the differences between positive and normative, give a few examples, and that should be fine. So first things first, we have an example of a positive statement. So it says the new legislation will the energy bills of 11 million households will be capped for as long as 5 years. Of course, that is a stat, that is a figure, that's something you can test. So of course that would be a positive statement. Claim it could save households hundreds of pounds a year. And remember, what is the difference between positive and normative statement? Positive statement, remember, the main thing is it does not have to be correct. The main thing is backed up by evidence. It can just be tested, and if it can be tested, like I said, it does not necessarily have to be correct. So even if this cap doesn't save households hundreds, it can be tested, therefore it's a positive statement, whilst of course normative statements are more opinion based. Here, so when it's said also in the title, but the market is broken, the Prime Minister says. So the Prime Minister repeated their claims that she had to act the market is broken. That is a very subjective statement where some people may think the market is functioning perfectly, or the market is partially broken. So therefore that is of course an opinion, and when it's an opinion, we of course would call it a normative statement. Then if we keep going, our broken energy market has to change. It has to offer fairer prices, and of course fair is a massive opinion. What one person deems fair is another person might deem it unfair. That, like I said, it's another example of a normative statement. And again, if we keep going, a price cap will not be good for customers will not be good. It could be good for some customers, it might not be good for others. So again, that is an opinion that cannot necessarily be tested. How do we know it's not good for every single customer? But yeah, we've got enough there, and like I said, this 5-mark question is fairly simple. So I'm just going to quote about 1 or 2 of the bits of the extract, and that should be very easy 5 marks here. Okay, so that is what I'd write to get 5 marks there. So very simply, positive statement can be tested via stats/evidence. It does not have to be correct. Energy bills for 11 million households will be capped for 5 years. Then normative statements are opinion based. They cannot be tested and usually include a value judgment. It will do fairer prices for customers who are paying. So of course fairer. This is a subjective statement. It stems from the individual opinions. That's basically what value judgment is. Therefore, cannot be tested, and therefore is a normative statement. So it's very simple 5-mark question to make sure you get the application in to pick up those marks.